This is a Jazz Online special podcast, a conversation with Al Jarreau about his artistry and the 1977 Grammy Award-winning album, Look to the Rainbow. I'm your host, Joseph Vella. Al, can you tell us where you were at artistically as you approached the recording of Look to the Rainbow?
Well, at that point, I was still kind of exploring who I am and what I wanted to do as a singer, songwriter, stand-up vocalist with other musicians, making this music for people and ourselves and interacting. I was still kind of exploring that, but what I find interesting is that what I had discovered about what I wanted to do is still what I'm doing and what I enjoyed doing. And identifying, what that is and getting beyond that is a little difficult. But at least part of it is this. As a singer, I wanted to sing the ballad in the best way that I could, and there were people that I loved, like Nat Cole and Johnny Mathis, just to mention a couple of guys who really represent for me the brilliance of the ballad and romantic sentiments and all. But I also wanted to do that energetic kind of uptune and then explore this world of improvising that was mostly the world of instrumentalists and a few guys like Jon Hendricks, who is still, for me, the guy who did it, and Ella Fitzgerald. Those two really kind of represent the ups and downs of improvisational kinds of singing, except for, and this is very important, except for the Stevie Wonders and Aretha Franklins, who just use a different kind of syllables, but it's that same kind of improvising and turning of the phrase. And jazzers go beat out and Stevie and Aretha just go, hey, yeah. But it's those same intervals that they're doing, and Stevie and Aretha are jazz singers. Really. So I wanted to explore that as a singer, and by that point I had discovered rhythmic stuff that I wanted to do too. So all of those things are what you hear on the Look to the Rainbow record, and in its free-form way, live, open approach that I had taken to the music that I had done, standing there and being very improvisational in performance. So I'm not sure that that's a great description verbally of what it is that I do. The best description really is in having a listen to things on this record as a real good representation of what Al Jarreau does when he just lets it all hang out.
Was there any specific plan or story in regards to the songs selected for the album?
The songs and the music that we put on this record didn't follow any particular methodology. It was just what I was singing of other people's material at the time, and what I had written on my own, which was newer and different than my writing on the previous two records. So there was no great story to tell other than this is what I want to do right now.
The band on the album is solid, and they carefully listen and follow you through every track. Can you tell us who was in the band, and what kind of players do you look for to play with in your bands?
Abe Laboria, Tom Canning, Joe Carrero, Lynn Blessing, the Vibes player, is on this record. And then there's Crazy Vocalist. Oh, without even thinking about it, that kind of player, yes, absolutely necessary to doing whatever I would do on stage. It's a player who is a serious musician, and it's better if he's had some experience in improvising and can improvise on his instrument and can listen and play with others. I want to be like the horn player in the ensemble, who's got lyrics to offer as well as the tone and the things that he decides to say with his instrument. So absolutely essential. It didn't require any thought beyond these guys ought to be guys who could sit down and play with Diz or Cannon or John Hendricks. They got to be complete players, and I was really lucky in finding them. Tom Canning and I played together before this record more as a duo, going back to before the first record in Los Angeles at a little cafe called the Blah Blah Cafe. I had my cabasa shaker day, and I went doom 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 or doom 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 on the mic stand with my left foot, and then I had the right hand, and then I had both hands playing cabasa. So you got that, and I sang to that as a singer and instrumentalist kind of singer. So Tom Canning and I had this history early on, and then along about the same period, kind of before, Joe Carrero, the drummer, and I had played together in this little group that was the first kind of Jarreau entities of a group that I'd ever put together, and that was before the Blah Blah Cafe, and we were. There was a bunch of guys who came with me from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Bobby Schnitzer and Richard Dworsky, who became the music director on Prairie Home Companion. You can see him these days with he's as bald as I am. And we had a house. We were living together in Laurel Canyon, and Joe Carrero was coming there, and we were playing as a group. There was piano, bass, drums, guitar, singer, and Joe was the drummer. And we went looking for deals, and record deals didn't happen. So yes, the players in the band needed to be, even without thinking about it, really gifted players who could accompany and improvise and do solos on their own. Yeah, and I had them.
Throughout the Look to the Rainbow album, the interaction with you and the audience is so pronounced. On many tracks such as Better Than Anything and Take 5, You Don't See Me, Could You Believe, and others, it's like you have them in the palm of your hand. Can you talk about the audience and what impact it has on your performance?
Well, this is one of the most important aspects of the whole thing. I've just come into a recent description of the audience and that I really love. And the audience plays an instrument called the essential. They play the essential, which means that how they respond impacts and affects the next note that I sing. And I want players who feel that and who sense that and who are playing 4 people and 2 an audience, and maybe that person and maybe that audience is clapping along or singing along, and this is music to not be played in the basement. This is music for people, and what they say and feel is really very important. So I call it playing the essential. And so my audience sings, my audience claps, my audience scoochie booties in the seat, my audience laughs, my audience cries, my audience is that other instrument, and it's called the essential.
There are a number of your own compositions on this album. Can you share in your process of songwriting?
Have an idea, and here goes the tape recorder. That's me at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the start of a new song. And it just comes from inside somewhere, and it contains some aspects of melody and rhythm and feeling that just gets expanded upon in the next time that I turn on the tape recorder. So that second time I turn on the tape recorder, what might happen is this: 2, 3, 4. Ding do de de do de do sing ding do do de da sing ding do ding de do do ding do de da. Now, without even looking or listening, I know that fits with the first stuff that I sang. So it begins like that, gets expanded like that, and a lyric might get suggested in something that I've sung there, and I'll go with that as a suggestion of a lyric and then build on it. There's a universe of thoughts and notions that contain a story and a lyric, and you just reach into that pool and start pulling out thoughts and ideas that expand on those first notions of a lyric, and it might be only a word or two. Okay, enter another very important and essential player in this, and that's someone that you collaborate with and you write with, who, again, is so proficient at his instrument that he's accompanist and soloist as well. And he can hear what's going on when I turn on the tape recorder and go, well, here's where I am, Tom, or here's where I am, Larry, on this song, and let's figure out the chord changes that we want for here, and get this melody down, note it, codify, making note of of the melody that I'm singing, and the time and how it feels in there, and then let's explore that some more and write this song that becomes, it has a good in me that you know to see me, that you know don't want to see me. It has a good in me that you know to see me, that you know don't want to see me. That's me at 3 o'clock in the morning, hearing this melody and rhythm and deciding, yeah, that's what I want the bass to be doing and playing, and then we'll set that down, and it will explore, and that's what happens, and that's what happens even today in my writing. That's the process.
One of the real treats and historic aspects on Lit to the Rainbow is hearing you build into some of the tunes, where you are singing the percussion parts and working into the rhythm of the tune itself. At that time, in the 70s, no one had ever done that before. It separated you stylistically from all other jazz singers up until that point, and more importantly, it allowed you to speak to non-jazz types of listeners. which, as we know later on, was a huge aspect of your success and career as a recording artist. Could you tell us how this evolved?
So a moment ago, I was talking about this process of writing and hearing something in my head and turning on the tape recorder and then exploring with that. Well, the pre-process to that is entertaining me. Is entertaining me while driving in the car, entertaining myself while shopping, while don't tell anybody, while doing the laundry and doing the dishes. I'm doing this stuff that's just fun. That's just fun. And I decided at some point to share it with people. And I had a pretty good sense that there was something attractive about it. And if I could keep good time and introduce these counterpuntal elements, that a common guy on the street had been listening to music long enough, and these elements that I was now going to represent as a singer, that I felt a kind of certainty that they would get it, but the pre-process is this one of just driving along in the car and going, does anyone want to go walk see the little garden? Does anyone want to go dance up on the roof? That's me being a wah-wah guitar and having fun in the car and showing up at George Duke's house and saying, George, this is what I hear, man. What could we do with this? And George going, yeah, that sounds like a little bit like wah-wah, Jarreau. That would be fun for a listener. Let's explore. And so George wrote this other very sophisticated stuff for bridges in that song, but the pre-process is me just having fun on my own and deciding at some point, I'm going to gather my courage, it's called chutzpah, and give it to an audience, and I think they're going to like it. I think they're going to have fun. So that what was going on was I was experimenting with that on my own and had found this flute sound that I wanted to do in the music too. And so when I had a guitar player, which is before Tom Kenning and before Richard Dworsky, and was just Al post singer with a trio, early post singer with a trio period in my life, now I'm beginning to expand on what I do as a writer, what I do as an improvising singer, with all of this space now. So much space had been occupied in my performing by piano, that's a big instrument, bass, and drums, and now it was just me and the guitar player. And here was all of this space in which to create this other stuff. And that's what happened. And on the Look to the Rainbow album, you're seeing a certain period of its evolution, but I couldn't do everything that I was doing at that time. But that's a pretty good representation of what was happening, and yes, this thing of sharing that with an audience, this stuff that I had found in my basement, in my car, standing at the sink doing dishes, just entertaining myself. That's what happened, and feeling a sense of certainty and competence that had come from doing that since I was 4 years old. by the time I did that record, I wasn't a neophyte. I had been singing a lot. I mean, I wasn't recording like Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder were at that time in their lives, but I was singing surely as much and had developed a kind of certainty and competence about what I was doing that told me, this is okay, this stuff that you're doing. My musical ear, who by that point, had been listening to Diz and Miles and was singing Your lips were like a red and ruby chalice since I was 9 years old. I was listening, and I had some abilities inside, and so I felt pretty good about what I was trying out and just beginning to share with audiences, and still entertaining myself and finding my way.
If you had to describe Look to the Rainbow in a few words, what would they be?
The real Al.
For more information, visit jazzonline.com. I'm Joseph Vella. Thanks for listening.